So similar question on the kind of the life cycle of universal parallel accounting. Where are we in terms of the development, and what excites you about what's ahead?
Where are we? We're very definitely in the middle at the moment. We've got customers working on it. Don't let anybody tell you that there's nobody working on it. The way it works in on-premise at the moment is, because we're not mature, anybody who wants to use universal parallel accounting opens up a message, and Nicoletta and I get on a call with them, and we walk through the functions, and then the customer either says, okay, yeah, I'm fine with that, or we agree to wait. What a number of customers are also doing is they're using the business function just on a test box to try and understand it more, with no intention of going productive in the next year or two, but they just want to understand it. In terms of where we stand and maybe what's coming, so 2023, it's pretty safe to say what's out there. Profit center valuation within universal parallel accounting will be out there, and the first conversion tools. But the first conversion tools won't yet migrate you if you've got group valuation or profit center valuation running. And then we'll have to do all the kind of UGL migration tools that said, if I want to add a ledger, if I want to add a currency, if I want to add a this or that or the other. So there's obviously a lot of work there. And the other thing I've got to be careful of with conversion tools is I've got the table structure underneath, but it's important that I can update it from above, which is where things like I don't yet support results analysis. I can only do event-based revenue recognition come into play, where I'm working with customers to sort of say, results analysis is obviously enormous. What are the 10 things you do today? So we can do those 10 things first and then move up onto the next 10 things. So the question of when will you be finished is really quite scary. And of course, the trouble is, just as you think you might be finished, you realize also that the business world is changing, that I now talk to engineer to order customers who don't just deliver their finished elevator or whatever to the customer, but they run all sorts of service contracts on top of that. There's a much more complex process than just building it, shipping it. There's the whole business of how do you manage the revenue flow over time, how do you manage the service, and all that, of course, has got to be taken account of as well. It's not just we've decided to have a new architecture, and wouldn't that be nice? But reality moves on, the world gets more complicated, people's business models change, and of course our software has to reflect that. So obviously we co-innovate with customers who tell us all about these things, but it does make things kind of scary, because I find myself working with customers that I worked with 20 years ago, and I think I know their processes, only to discover that the world has moved on, and maybe you don't buy a huge packaging machine the way you used to do. You lease that huge packaging machine and you pay per package or whatever. It's a completely different way of dealing with it. It's no longer a capital invest the way it was when I was consulting for them. It becomes an operational expense. And all of that, of course, has to find its way into universal parallel accounting, because we're saying this is the future architecture, but there's no good doing a future architecture for the process that was good 20 years ago, but has now moved on.